Husk is a grumpy, gambling, booze-guzzling cat, but I don't think that's always been the case. In this video, I'll be trying to find out what his life was like before he came to Hell, and seeing what exactly turned him into a Husk. But before I do, a lot of you watching right now regularly tune into my Hazbin Hotel content, yet don't subscribe. If you want to support the channel and you haven't already, I'd greatly appreciate it if you did subscribe.
Yes, it's one of a kind, right here in Hell, catering to a specific clientele.
With that out of the way, enjoy the video. While Husk hasn't seen much screen time, we have in fact had a decent chunk of info given to us about him by the Hazbin crew. So with that being said, let's establish what we know. Apparently Husk grew up in a casino and used to really like magic shows. While I've struggled to find a source on this fact, despite it being generally accepted information, if this was the case, it would certainly explain why so many of Husk's design elements seem to resemble a stage show magician's attire. He not only has a magician's top hat and bow tie, when folded, his wings resemble a red magician's cape. However, if magic is such an important aspect of his life that it's reflected in his demon form, then he must have more than just a mere fondness for magic. In other words, I suspect that he liked magic so much that he wanted to be a stage magician at some point in his life. It's also been noted by Forstis that he's very good with children, and it would make sense to me if he enjoyed magic because it makes kids happy, but also that he himself had a sad childhood and wants kids to experience the same happiness that magic gave him. Clearly, if his dream in life was to be a magician, then things couldn't have panned out any more differently for him. So what happened? The most likely cause of this, in my opinion, is neglectful and abusive parents, and there's many reasons to believe this is the case. According to Hazbin writer Dave Capdevielle, Husk is actually a deeply emotionally troubled individual, and this is the reason that he's a heavy drinker. Not only this, but Viv has even herself stated that he's insecure. Having neglectful parents is something that would definitely account for why he has these issues. Not to mention, why would Husk have grown up in a casino? Like the Husk we know now, I think his parents were also big gamblers. They would have dragged him to the casino instead of getting someone to look after him, which would make sense as if they were addicted gamblers, they wouldn't want to waste their money on something that isn't gambling. Naturally, being young, Husk wouldn't have been immediately allowed to gamble, but some bigger casinos would have had these areas where you could watch people perform acts on stage, and of course one of those acts would have been a magic show.
I've come to crave a new form of entertainment! Ha ha ha!
Having no love from his parents and probably living a generally shitty life, the wonder of magic would have provided Husk with the escapism he wanted and needed to deal with his circumstances. It's my suspicion that he even befriended a magician who taught him magic tricks, which will play an important role later on in his story. When Husk got old enough to gamble, his parents would most likely have encouraged him to gamble instead of wasting his time on magic. Specifically poker, as it's a game that requires more skill than luck. They are clearly selfish and would have no trouble using their kid to get what they want. Wanting the love and approval of his parents, he'd ultimately decide to give up magic and pursue poker instead. Now, Husk probably didn't cheat at first. However, after loss, it was apparent that he didn't have a very bright future ahead of him in gambling. Obviously, this would have been bad news for his parents. Therefore, not wanting to disappoint them, he'd become a card cheat. We know he's a card cheat as when Alastor teleports him to the Happy Hotel, he claims to have a full house, yet his hand doesn't add up with that claim. This is something I'd imagine he'd be very good at. As you're no doubt aware, many magic tricks involve cards, and it requires this technique which is known as sleight of hand, or in other words, skillful deception. From that point onwards, he'd be on a winning streak. What was once a skill to bring entertainment and joy to others had now been turned into a tool to lie and cheat. Becoming a card cheat would be the gateway drug for Husk to commit even more illegal activity revolving around gambling. Like his parents, Husk would most likely be prone to addiction. We've even seen this happen with booze. Seeing his money go up and up would give him a high which he didn't want to come down from. a greed. And it's this greed that would become his sin. I think that at some point, a gang scouted him cheating at the casino. This would be the start of his career in underground poker.
Oh shit.
Oh shit, indeed.
Underground gambling can be far more lucrative than normal gambling, as the money you earn isn't taxed and is more often than not very high stakes. During this time, he would compete with gangs from all across the globe. Specifically, he'd gamble with gangs from Russia, China, Germany, Japan, and even the Italian mafia. How do we know this? Well, this is why Husk has been stated to be fluent in each of these countries' languages. Each day, he'd stray even further from the innocent child that he once was. Becoming an underground gambler for a gang meant that he had to put up the facade of being a tough guy, a poker face if you will. Each day though, it became less of a facade and more his reality. While he accrued more wealth, it never filled the void in his heart that his parents left him like magic did. The emptiness would be an unbearable pain for him, and that's about where he'd start picking up drinking. Husk would live this lifestyle up until the day he died. He is actually in either his 70s or 80s as confirmed by Forstis in a stream, so I'm thinking that he lived an entire lifetime like this, and that eventually he just died of natural causes, alone. So that leaves one final question. Is there any hope for Husk? In my opinion, definitely. Husk has been described as a tsundere by Ashley and Mick, which is a character archetype that starts out very cold and hostile before warming up over time. I believe Charlie might give him a stage to perform magic shows for the guests at the hotel, which will lead to his path to redemption by giving him the opportunity to make others happy like he always wanted to. And that's the story of how Husk became a Husk. Please leave this video a like if you enjoyed it, comment down below with your thoughts and theories, and don't forget to subscribe. You're also welcome to join my Discord, which you can find in the video's description. See you next time.